General Andrews,
And the Dream Stream presents Rapid Runs!
Let's say 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so welcome on in everybody. This is Bucky O'Hare. This is probably one of my favorite speedruns in general. And workless and hard mode kind of give each other a hard time. But workless is still a pretty cool category. The difference between workless and normal is there's actually a bug in this game where you can death warp, and you can specifically death warp the red planet and yellow planet. In workless, you kind of play all the stages as the game developer, so you're not weirdly dying. In Green Planet, there's not a whole lot to talk about. It's probably more of a relatively straightforward, minus the tree climb that everybody started kind of coming to. The tree climb, optimized, is actually pretty difficult. It's pretty easy to accidentally use the time here. You can kind of see that on Blag's side. What ends up happening is as the screen is scrolling vertically, you have to make pretty specific jumps to jump on the platforms as the screen is ascending. If you don't, it's actually entirely possible to like jump quickly if the screen doesn't scroll and then Bucky doesn't get sucked into the branches. So completely optimized, kind of like the only hard screen in Green Planet. This is called the Sidetrack Express because of good friend Sidetrack. He's a Bucky runner too, and they're taking a log down here. And sorry, we're just kind of sitting there. I thought something happened. But the bottom row is very safe. All you have to do is like go on the log, and that's it. Compared to the top row, which obviously stays for 3 seconds, it's like a triple 3 pixel jump. So yeah, sorry, grabbing my brain. So this waterfall section is pretty easy. All you have to do is fall, and then I guess in workless normally you just push right. And this laser section is actually quite hard to move through. So I can see actually on Blag's side, he kind of figured out the hard mode way to do it. And okay, so we're in the first boss. This first boss takes 40 damage. Each shot is 1 health. So you can see here, it's possible to cycle him if you don't get hit by the rocks that fall kind of awkward. So let's see if these guys can cycle. So 2.5 cycle at least per Blag. High Flyer got to 2 cycle. Let's see how do you play it. Yeah, I'm still doing here. The 2 cycle is actually sometimes fairly hard to get. Like, it's not a free thing. Scariest
no
menu.
red planet percent.
Yes, literally scariest menu in the game. You just really need to make sure that you go to blue planet. Otherwise, the run isn't effectively over, but you lose a lot of time. So how do you play? Also getting the 2 cycle, die right at it. So after a bit of a shaky Green Planet, very nice finish. And we're entering Blue Planet. Blue Planet is a really weird kind of like combination of screens. I would say in workless and normal, it's probably one of the easier planets, honestly. In hard mode, this is notoriously one of the most difficult areas.
Oh boy.
Specifically entering the next couple of screens here, both on High Flyer and Blag side. They're going to enter an iceberg, and the iceberg is pretty free actually in workless mode. So it's right after the screen here for Blag. Blag made a tricky jump across that little gap there. That jump is pretty easy to die on. Coincidentally, the jump afterwards he died is kind of an easy jump, so kind of silly how that happened. But yeah, the jump that he just died on there is pretty hard. And High Flyer here is entering probably the easiest screen in normal and workless, which is funny because it's absolutely the hardest screen in hard mode. But Andrews, if you want to say anything here, as kind of the runners approach this section, feel free to talk about the Lucas cherry here.
thank you so much for that. Folks, if you do not know, lupus is an invisible illness, and what we're trying to do with this weekend's event, which actually even started yesterday for a lot of the participants, is we are trying to bring awareness, if not, on top of that, bring in some funds to help improve the research for this disease. And I just want to thank everyone that's been out here watching, everyone who's already donated, and maybe some of you who are planning to donate between tonight and tomorrow. And thank you everyone else out there who maybe is streaming and sharing this with your communities in that sense. Thank you everyone who's done that. And I'll hand it back over to Dave.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. So High Flyer actually doing pretty good here. He's approaching probably the worst boss in Bucky. He's called Al Negator. He actually learned to film from a priest. I just call him Alligator. Apparently that's not particular enough. And so the one thing with the alligator that's really hard is he actually takes 160 shots to kill. And at this point, the reason the green planet first blue planet is because in blue planet you unlock a girl named Jenny. And she does something ridiculous, like 1 damage per frame with her special attack, but unfortunately you have to put the alligator first to get her, and unfortunately the only way to do that is attack. So each bullet does 1 damage. The alligator has a whopping 160 health, and it takes way too long. This is really probably one of the worst match fights in the entire game. And funny enough, the second worst match fight is Jenny, which you actually have to get her and fight her, I guess, a little bit later. But High Flyer and Blag was taking pretty short work. And how do you play? Catching them up here, not too far behind. One thing to note is even though How Do You Play died a couple of times, deaths, no matter the category in this game, are actually super painful. There's not really a good way to die in Bucky and not lose 20 seconds at a time. So even though he's a little bit far behind, he's definitely not out yet, because realistically, if any of the other runners die, it's like literally kind of like a feature for it to happen. So depending on the screen you can die on, you can literally die at least close to it. So as Blag and High Flyer and Red Planet. Normally this is in normal mode or hard mode. You would actually skip like an auto scroller in this section. So the only thing that really changes in Forklift is you get to see the weird auto scroller that comes with Blag doing that boulder jump, which is always nice to see. That's actually my strat. So I have a penchant for that one.
Oops.
And a little bit of a weird death there for High Flyer, but this is what I mean, like the speed change, because realistically it's super quick to die. And this screen is arguably, I would say, like one of the easiest screens in the game. But casually, it's one of the worst things. The one that High Flyer is on. Because casually, if you're doing this for the first time, you have no idea where to go and how to do that. You probably learn like 40 times, or die, sorry, 40 times. And yeah, Blag is just about to enter arguably one of the entire game. This is the red vertical line. This whole screen is terrible depending how you do it. There's a real OG speedrunner named Callum, and Callum really made this screen horrible for everybody. Blag is like he's doing kind of maybe his own thing, or kind of like a modified version of the record climb. But the big problem with this climb is that if you get stuck like Blag did under one of the platforms, again, you can face like helpless behind record. So it's not a great spot. But Blag getting on up there, he's out of there. The weird thing to notice about this is High Flyer just took a hit. If you get hit facing right, there's actually a considerable amount of hits going to happen to like Bucky and his friends. But if you get hit facing left, there's no hits going to fall. Presumably that's a good thing. I don't think about it a bit. Blag showing us why worthless and Blinky isn't worthless. You can actually fly into screen transitions. Normally Blinky is like borderline second most worthless character. But this is the screen that Blag is on. You normally skip the death card. It's about a minute auto scroller, so green ball. But in more places you get to see this. That jump with Jenny is sometimes a little bit scary to grab the power. It's not necessary depending on how you want to power up, because you have a chance in lower planet, but it's just going to see that Blag is and High Flyer also in this section here. All you have to do is kind of like wait on this boulder. So it should be okay until the end of the run, obviously. And how do you play? Still trying to catch up here, but definitely not out, because things can change, especially later. The first 4 planets in this game are, I wouldn't say easy, but they're probably the most stable in terms of the rest of the run. Everything that comes after can be a pretty big boss to climb sometimes. As you kind of saw on High Flyer's side, this is why we use Jenny. she has a ball. For every frame that ball hits something, I think she does either something ridiculous like 1 damage per frame or 3 damage per frame. But regardless of what it is, it's absolutely impossible to have DPS Jenny with any other character, so that's why they get her here. And from every boss on here, we use Jenny to kill, because realistically there's absolutely no way Jenny can have DPS anybody. So the screen that Blag is on right now is something where you die in normal to death for it, but instead we have a vertical climb, which is actually somewhat annoying to kind of mess it up. So let's see what Blag ends up doing here. Doing pretty good on the climb here. Overall, very good, actually. Good job, Blag. There is a way that you can skip that last little section, but overall, that was a good climb. And the weird thing about that climb is if you mess it up, it actually doesn't cycle really easily. It's actually very terrible. So you can get stuck there for a long time just getting it. What's kind of interesting on the screen that Blag is at is it looks scary, but it oddly cycles really well. We'll see what Blag ends up doing. He said that he was going to try for the second Minecraft clip. This first one here is very free. You have like 1,000 frames to do it, but the second one coming in, you have 2 frames. So he said he was going to set it up to see how it feels, see if he tries. Oh, he got it! Dude, that's so good! Good job, Blag. That is a 2-frame window. I tasked that. I cannot express how stupid that stat is. I unfortunately made that RTA. You have, I think, 81 frames to charge. You need to let go on the 79th frame. If you do it any before that, you die. If you do it any later, you die. So it's an extremely specific window frame. And that strat saves about 10 seconds. So very, very good. With a huge reset point normally. And he's going to use Blink here to skip the end of this transition and then enter into the last one. This quick kill is a 3-second window. Extremely difficult. Or sorry, a 3-pixel window to line that properly. He's going to do kind of like a modified backward kill, but that's still really good. High flyer. Just riding the cart here. Yeah. No shame.
Nice and cozy.
Yeah. No shame, no judging whatsoever. Just gonna take that a little extra joy, right? And how do you play almost sort of red finally? See here. So really, you gather everybody. You basically rescue everybody, and then everybody essentially gets kidnapped again and held hostage with like this little prisoner cell thing. And it's kind of a weird story arc, but that ends up what happened. Oh, that was a terrible sentence. That ends up how it happened. I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I mean, right? So we enter cell. This is where Blag is right now. High flyer. Good boss kill. Slightly out of position, but if you get hit there, the bottom left corner is safe for the rest of this enemy's attack. So you can kind of sit there and ball the enemy. We have about I wouldn't say like a 1-stage spread, but Blag is ahead right now. He's doing a very good job. Let's see if we can maintain that. High flyer entering, as I said, the cell area as well. And how do you play? Still has yellow punch though. So this Jenny fight is actually a nightmare, depending if you do, I guess, what side attacks record kill or not. I don't think Blag is gonna go for it. Yeah, he's gonna dodge it. He's just gonna kill and probably jump over or dodge again. Okay, that makes sense. So Jenny is a weird one. I think she has like 140 health in this whole refight, and weirdly enough, yeah, she just has a huge amount of health, and the only way to kill her. So luckily, you get her right again at the very beginning of the health, and from there, you get access back to obviously like her attacks, right? One thing to notice on High Flyer's screen is he's jumping very precariously to avoid. They're kind of like little trap blocks that you can fall through the floor. And Blag deciding to be safe on this jump here, I don't blame him either. That's actually one of the scariest jumps in this comparison. There was like a row of 2 blocks there that was like put together, and it's incredibly easy to accidentally hit that. And Blag is going to switch back to Jenny, at least in the next game, and will be coming up. Meanwhile, we have how do you play also fighting Jenny. Jenny is really scary in this fight. I think low-key, this is one of the scariest fights in the game. Because her contact damage is huge. It might be the single most amounts of damage if she touches you or her ball attack touches you. It does something crazy like 2 damage, and I don't think anything does more damage in the game outside of just like instant killing you. So she can be a really scary fight if you take a couple accidentals with either before or just on that fight in general. Blag, this is another extremely scary jump, so excellent job to nail that one too. And depending at the end of the screen here, okay, he's gonna play a little bit safe. Don't wait for that green block to spawn. It's also really, really, really terrible. And I think if you have anything else that you want to stand use, this is again almost a 2-minute auto scroller on Blag's side. So if you want to type in into anything else, it's probably the only other opportunity. So feel free to also stay with it again. If anything, if not, talking first. Right, I think we'll keep talking.
Oh, sorry. I was just about to actually jump on in there real quick. Folks, remember, thank you first off for that raid that just came on in from the TBC community. We do have a raffle going on. To win, you do have to do ! raffle in the chat. So go ahead and do that, folks. Thank you so much, Dave.
Yeah, no worries. It's worth noting, and thank you again, it's worth noting that Blag is actually standing on a 3-pixel window. So the auto scroller is completely free in the sense that you actually have to stand on a 3-pixel window to skip 70% of it. If you don't stand on that spot, it is actually fairly easy to take damage. It's actually fairly easy to instantly die too. In a race setting, this is actually a really scary screen as well. Because if you accidentally touch any of these spikes, it's instant death. And this is one screen where depending if you die or not, you can get sent back almost 2 straight minutes. So it's a very long screen. It's relatively easy in terms of things usually going right. But I have lost friends here a long time ago where you accidentally like walk into this spike or something and then it's like, well, goodbye to it. So it looks like High Flyer also is standing on that pixel if I saw correctly. And how do you play is almost at Yellow Planet. He's going to join everybody else. So we'll see what happens obviously in the next couple of streams here. So Blag was a little bit sketchy at the very end there, but he's out of here. So all he has to do is push Jenny and kill the duck. Not that they're really hard fights with Jenny and Self. The duck is probably one of the easier ones because of this pattern. And weirdly, this is one of the only spots where you can freely change your character. After every other boss fight, you're actually locked into whatever character you boss. Like you just automatically create like on how do you play side. He has to be Jenny, like he's just there. But weirdly, this is a spot where you actually get a free choice, and the character that you pick carries into the next screen as well. So as Blag is going to enter Magma, because he chose to end on Lily, he's actually going to start the screen off there. And it's a really, really weird thing. I assume that was also a bug, but I don't know for sure. And Blag's going to have to be a little bit careful, because if he jumps, he might get shot out of the air. Okay, you got lucky. The way that he manipulated that first guy was a little bit late, but luckily nothing happened. And let's see if High Flyer can get out of this cursed auto scroller as well. So Blag getting crushed by the pressures. That's a very soothing death for Blinky on this game. It's really easy to fall into the hitbox of the crushers. It's, I wouldn't say like a free section, but it is actually quite easy to die on this particular screen.
Nice.
Very nice to go by High Flyer. That was good. That was really good. The very, like you can see when it's good, like the duck barely turns around. Yeah, that was a very good test. So Blag did take a death, which shortens the bleed a little bit. We're gonna see what he does in the next frame but I'm very curious. He's gonna play it slightly safe and play that one slug. And okay, I understand. He's just gonna use Deadeye the entire way. There is the one cycle in this room. I'm not sure if Blag is gonna attempt it or not. To see if he decides to. Man, you're nailing it, Blag. Good job. In my opinion, that is easily one of the hardest games in the entire game. One cycle in particular, and not die. It's very easy to die literally on that screen. So that alone saves 3 seconds if you one cycle it like that, but excellent job as well. That is not an easy strat. So even though Blag is like calling out these weird larger things, you can actually die if you time the jump thoroughly. But luckily, you don't have that problem switching to Jenny. And we're going to see here another quick kill. This one's pretty easy as long as you time it correctly. If you mess up the ball or if you allow one of the rockets to hit you, Jenny basically gets crushed. So good job again, Blag. That was going to be a quick kill. Jenny is over here. And we're entering everybody's favorite stage, which is Magma. Everybody loves Magma. Trust me when I say that. It's definitely the speedrunning community's
Don't
favorite
trust
stage.
him.
Yeah, don't trust me. Yeah, it's definitely the speedrunning community's favorite stage. So
Quote.
this screen in particular, Blag doing it the old school way, that is like a 2-frame jump. So Blag is just absolutely killing all of these strats. The jump that he just made was, I believe, a 2-frame window. It is absolutely one of the scariest jumps in Bucky. And on pace, it's just horrible because you can die repeatedly there and just completely throw away a run. What makes Magma so difficult? Oh, that was a rough path. What makes Magma so difficult is health is actually super important in more plus than normal. And Blag actually making a very good cycle able to block it. I'm gonna see if he's gonna grab the health now. He's not. So Blag has 2 places basically entering here. He can do a 2-pixel jump. I'm not sure if he's gonna go for that. Or if he doesn't go for the 2-pixel jump, which he didn't right there. That means all of these jumps here, he's gonna have to stick to enemies at the very end. So that's slightly suboptimal, but that's what you do at low health if you don't make that first 2-pixel jump. This room in particular is one of the worst rooms. It is extremely easy to die here, and again, we lose 45 seconds. That's a very good kill, again, by High Flyer. How do you play? Almost at a cell, we have that auto scroller coming up. How do you play? And see, that's what I mean. Commentators first. Blag just took a death there, probably lost close to 20 or 30 seconds. Maybe, I'm not sure exactly, probably close to 20, so it was a little bit closer in that screen, but this is what makes Magma so absolutely terrible for Red, because it's extremely easy to die on multiple levels in Magma, screens in Magma, and lose anywhere from half a minute, or sometimes even more depending on the die. This screen where High Flyer is on is probably one of the worst culprits for screens that you can die on, but realistically, you could lose almost like close to a minute and a half if you're very unlucky. But that was close to the spikes. So a very good cycle there as well for High Flyer, able to walk through the first 30%. He's going to leave, arguably, I think, the second biggest time loss in the entire game to die. How do you play? Bending on the pixel as well. And Blag in probably one of the worst rooms, at least casually, it's really difficult to understand how to move your fingers through it. There's like 3 rotating rooms, and they're just not a good time casually. Blag's gonna get jumped on if he's not careful. Yeah, I knew that was coming. I'm not sure if Blag knows exactly how to manipulate these weird monkey things, but because it didn't spawn the first time, it was gonna fall on his head towards the end of the game. So he actually might have the same problem here again. Okay, he got out of there. The monkeys are really annoying because they fall on your y-axis, and as you're literally standing there, like they just literally fall right before you, sometimes directly on your head. And the problem with that is they can kind of beat your jump, and also jump on you and absolutely die. Blag taking the second jump there a little bit safe, and he should be out of here to fight the boss area. So he's going to switch to Willy, which is one of the only times Willy gets used. You use Willy to destroy kind of like the outer turret, and then you use Jenny to destroy the 2 top turrets, ideally in the same ball. So that was very well done. With any luck, he's going to have low. Okay, sorry, he's going to get the low pattern. That makes sense because he died on one of those monkeys. So ideally, if you get here without dying, you generally get a high pattern, which you don't have to use Jenny at all. So unfortunately, you got the low pattern, but that's okay. So did a really good job on the boss. So High Flyer, not too far behind. Just a couple of screens, which is only second there. Making really good time as well. And how do you play literally entering salvage here? Had a bit of a rough run, but still, this is a really unfriendly race game. So he's doing extremely good still. It is really easy for just deaths to pile up. But, and again, as I said, it's super easy to just die. So let's see here. High fire. Might possibly miss the first turret. That was slightly slow on ability, but maybe not. Very good recovery. Let's see if he also gets a higher or low pattern. It's completely different on the change point. He got a high pattern. Oh, just enough power.
Yep. Oof, I was a little worried.
Like, literally like one pixel of power there. So awesome. There you go. So Blag is entering arguably one of the hardest bosses, at least the hard mode. Not too hard, but he's also really hard to kill in normal and worthless. He's a really weird combination. I'm not exactly sure the extent of like, how Blag kills him. But there is a way that you can double damage on the incoming boss with the 7-frame window. And then from there, every window you double damage is very tight. And you also damage boost the normal and worthless a lot. And at the end of the boss kill, you're left with basically like one hit left before death. So it's a really uncomfortable boss fight if you're doing it optimally. If you don't do it optimally, he becomes far less scary, so it's not that bad. So it's exactly see what Blag tends to do. If he goes for it, he has to grab the heart here to do the double damage window, which he might. But I think he's just going to attack and roll the dice. Yeah, he's just going to roll the dice. So there is a bit of a way that you can obviously guarantee double damage. He did actually get double damage on the bottom there, so that's good. He missed this section here. So let's see again. So the top section was taking a little bit longer. He didn't get double damage, but that's okay. Let's see how the head section goes here. This head section is rather terrifying on hard mode. In normal and worthless, it's still pretty hard. Opting not to damage boost intentionally, so that actually makes it a little bit safer, but I don't blame him at all. Like, you're in the lead, you don't need to throw away anything. Very, 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 very scary loss. And high fire, about to do the same. And how do you play just about to get out of salvage here? So Blag is entering arguably one of the biggest time losses also. Interesting scrap by high fire to ultimate damage. That's actually what Callan's old record before he knew it was optimal not to do that. So see, it does kind of balance out, but there's a 7-frame window you can't control to do double damage. But that actually went pretty good. I think Black kind of carried live high fire started there a couple of times in terms of getting the double damage. So as Blag approaches this section of the ship, it's a 3-pixel window. Do double damage. Blag is put in there, so he's actually going to get the kill for sure. And on normal, it's relatively easy. Not to do, like the sliding in and doing this 3-pixel thing, because that part's always a little bit nerve-wracking, but as long as you have full health, you can actually damage the entire thing. You get a heart right here before the final boss. And you'll be able to recover, and then use the heart recovery to also damage boost as well. So let's see the kill that Blag goes for. He should stay in the toes. So Blag with an outstandingly good run, as long as nothing cursed happened in the last. But that was excellent. He nailed several very hard strats, nothing to be timed. So that's excellent, excellent run from Blag. Really good job, so you did a lot of hard things there. If that was TV, I'd be surprised. But there was very minimal cursedness that happened in that run. High fire also getting a quick kill. How do you play it dying in probably the worst screen in the entire game? It's a rough one. So that's going to be probably a pretty big step back there, but at least in terms of time. But almost at the end, so you can celebrate once you get there. So let's see what high fire does here. So the old, actually hard mode kill switching between Lily and Bucky or at least the hard mode variation. No last shot for you.
Ooh, that was gold.
GG. That was also very good. So it looks like 29-27 according to your splits. That was a good escape sequence. It was actually 8-second gold or just the gold in general? 8 seconds later.
Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't too bad.
You did excellent. That was very good.
I'm happy with it.
I would be happy.
I really wanted to
too,
get that cart skip, and I got it. That was
Yeah.
great.
No, in a race, that's terrifying. So that was
I was on PB pace until that death in magma, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was extreme. Like, how close did you finish to your PB? Because everything else.
It was about 20. Well, I finished. I had my splits going here. It was a 28-23 on my split. So about 25 seconds off of PB.
That's pretty close.
Had one really weird death at salvage, and then one really weird death in magma.
Yeah, the
Two really weird deaths in blue planet. I thought
Yeah,
I was.
I think I died at the end of the second room in blue, and the snakes in blue. I was like, really? I just
two
dropped
really
it,
weird
but just
deaths
fell
in
right in.
The screen before the iceberg. I was like, what? No. Why? Why am I? No. Yeah, what happened? I was seeing the chat pop up. What happened to play?
All right, I think play finally officially lagged out at this point.
Yeah, his stream seemed to froze.